Hey everybody, it's Fireman here again. I'm bringing you another game of Battleborn. Today we are focusing on the hero Kleese. Now Kleese is somebody who I really don't play him all that often. I know how to play him, but I recently started playing him quite a bit, and my goodness is he the man. Now Kleese is good at everything. He's a support. He heals people. You can make him heal their health, but the main thing he heals is their shields. But because he's such a big target, you're going to take a huge amount of damage, but that doesn't really matter because you're healing so much of your shields that it basically makes him a tank. It makes him a long distance tank. You don't really want people right in your face. That's when you'll get in trouble. As you can see, that Shane got in my face and I ran out of there. But from afar, you can just sit back and put in a huge amount of damage and just make people shoot at you and just make them waste all their damage. And that damage will never turn out or turn into anything. And then because of his pistol, it goes completely straight. It has a pretty quick fire rate and a pretty quick velocity, so it's pretty good from long distance. I never use his sniper. I don't really like the sniper. I prefer having the two targets on my shock turret or on my shock taser. But I mean, he's got great DPS. He's a tank and he's support. He's literally Mr. Everything. The other thing you got to really remember is he's a counter to so many people. You'll notice this other team has a Shane and a Toby. So one of Shane's main attacks, one of the things he likes to do to set people up, is he'll do his fetch. Well, fetch is a projectile, and so are my pistol shots. So my pistol shots will cancel his fetch. If he tries to fetch at me while I'm shooting at him, it just completely stops it. And you'll notice it. I do it a few times in this game. The other thing is Toby. Toby gets completely countered by Kleese. Now, the reason why is because Toby shoots projectiles as well. So when I fight Toby, I literally just shoot my projectiles at his right arm, and then if I shoot his projectiles, they completely stop, and I'm still just putting damage into him. So there's a few times in this match, and I've got another video of Kleese where I'm playing against another Toby, but you'll just notice I'll start shooting at him and I'll make him miss his shots. And the thing is, you don't have to make him miss every single shot, because if you make him miss, you know, just a third of his shots, the amount of healing you get from your shields will completely overwhelm the Toby, so the Toby will never do any damage to you. So Kleese is a perfect counter for Toby. Toby's one of the, I would say Toby's definitely overpowered. A good Toby can still work through these counters. This guy obviously didn't know about the counters, and so I just keep making him miss, and he has no clue about it. As you can see right there, I had 300 health and I didn't even back up. I'm not worried about that Toby. He can't do anything to me. And so we end up getting that kill. But obviously with Kleese, you really need to know what you're doing, especially he's very useful, like I said, against people who shoot projectiles. So I guess another person who shoots projectiles is Kid Ultra. You're not really going to block any of Kid Ultra shots. You can block somebody like a Benedict. Benedict shoots projectiles, but again, it's super useful against Shane's fetch and Toby's railgun. That's probably the best thing that you can use a Kleese for, and the best thing that you can use him to counter other people with. Alright, so for this next video here, it's the same match, it's just later on. As you can see, I've got quite a bit of damage. I've got the most tanking of anyone in my team, and again, I need to repeat this because nobody gets this right in Battleborn. You want to take as much damage as possible, especially if you're trying to play the role of a tank, and as Kleese, I am definitely trying to play the role as a tank. So I want that number as high as possible. Obviously, I don't want to die. It's been 10 minutes, I have one death. That's okay, I guess. The main way you die with Kleese, and I guess I don't have that in here, but the main way you die with Kleese is you push too far. And that's all I did, was I pushed too far. And you're a big target, so it's not that hard for people to hit you. And I almost pushed too far coming up here again. I see that Deande go after their Deande, so I went up to do some damage on her. And then I thought maybe I should stay there, but no, it's not a good spot for me. Always remember with Kleese, he is very territorial. It says that in his character info, but he is absolutely very territorial, and you need to remember that. So you basically pick a spot and you stay in that spot, and you'll really see a good example of that up here in just a second. They've got a pretty good marquee, and this marquee had been sort of giving me trouble, but I was able to hold my own and just stay out of his line of sight. And the marquee is going to come up here and kind of keep coming back and forth on me, and instead of following him, sometimes I've got the opportunity to follow him and maybe try and finish something off, and he'll come up here with a Miko too. I don't follow him at all. I just make sure to keep setting up my energy rifts. He keeps putting up his time distortion bubble, and that takes out some of my energy rifts, and then he'll come back up at me like he's going to do something, but he's got no chance just because I know what I'm doing with Kleese, so I'm staying in my area and just controlling it. And again, always get that thumper turret. That's the #1 thing you got to do when you're up in this area and trying to take control of it. And this is kind of the best area you can have Kleese in. The main reason for that is later on, I think it's level 7, you get his mortars to bounce around, and when you're in an enclosed area, you can literally just shoot the walls and they'll end up hitting somebody. You don't even really have to aim them. I'm not saying shoot the walls because you'll have much less accuracy if you just shoot the walls, but you want to be in an enclosed area with Kleese once you get to level 7 and you get those bouncing things, because then that just makes it so you don't have to be nearly as accurate, and it's just a great way to do a huge amount of damage. And then right here, I've got control of their little base area, so I'm just trying to make sure my team gets pushed through here a little bit. I don't actually want to be down where I am right now. I just want to clear them out of here so that I can go up to the top and start putting damage on them. And not have to worry about them coming from my backside. And I just want to help my team out just to get them through there. But right here is where I want to stay as Kleese. Like I said, I want to stay in those enclosed areas. So I just start putting some damage on the sentry. The second reason why it's good to put damage on the sentry is, as you can see, they're going to start coming over towards me. So that clears the area open for the rest of my team. But I needed, like I said, if they were pushed farther forward, they wouldn't have came back for me. But since I had helped push them forward, we were able to distract them over here. And this is a terrible spot for them, because all I have to do is back up and they're never going to touch me. So I just keep on pushing back and forth up here, and then as you can see, the rest of my team down below, they've got nobody stopping them down there, so they're just able to completely control that area. As you can see, we got that Toby down, and then they just keep kind of pushing in here. Always make sure to keep those energy rifts down, and then anytime you see any sort of healer, obviously focus that healer too. I make sure to get that mushroom out of there right away, and then I just make sure I keep having my my energy rifts down. I missed one of my energy mortars there. It's gonna happen. It just is what it is. And then I've got my ultimate. You always want to use your ultimate in tandem with your energy mortars. It'll pull them into your energy mortars. Obviously right there, the Deande got her ultimate off first, so I really couldn't do it. And then I know she's going to run away, so I leave my ultimate for her while I focus the rest of these guys. And as long as you're standing in your energy rifts, I get like 240 health back every few seconds. I think it's like every 2 to 3 seconds, because I got the cooldown on the rift. And so they just can't deal that much damage. That Miko has absolutely no chance. There's nothing he can do. There's nothing he should have tried to do. So we were able to clear all of them out right there. We've got a good minion push going in. And so right here I decide I'm going to start going full attack. I use one of my energy rifts on this sentry here, and then just finish it out, because they have no way to stop us. And again, if you're ever playing on Overgrowth, you want to take over their base near their thumper, and that's how you do it. So let's go ahead and look at this final video that I've got of Kleese. This is it's another one that's on Overgrowth, and again they've got another Toby, and they're trying to sit back and just lob damage at me from afar. You will never beat a Kleese lobbing damage at him from afar. That's the game that Kleese wants to play, because he just sits inside of his energy rifts, and as you can see, this Toby's he's actually putting decent damage on me. I haven't really had a good chance to stop him, but or to block his railguns with my projectiles, but there's nothing he can do. Luckily that Kelvin has been way too aggressive this game, so he's just giving us easy kills. It's not a real good way to do things. But people, again, with Kleese, they don't really recognize how much damage your mortars do. You're a huge threat with Kleese if you've got your shield. The way you basically keep Kleese from doing huge amounts of damage is just keep his shield down. Now obviously with his energy rifts, that means the first thing you have to attack is his energy rifts, but even if they are taking out your energy rifts, it means they're spending all the time shooting at your energy rifts rather than shooting at your minions or your people. So Kleese can really just be a big hassle. He's he's kind of a jackass. He's not a jackass, but like if you're playing somebody who's got a Kleese on their team and he's a good Kleese, you're gonna hate them. You think that Kleese is a real easy person to kill, and he is if you can get the setup correct, but if he's playing right, he won't ever give you the chance to set him up. And then that ultimate that he's got is absolutely great. It's got a lot of area of effect, and it pulls everybody into one central area. It's great for use on minion waves. That's probably the best thing to use it on, just because you're going to do a huge amount of damage to them, and the minions aren't going to get out of it. But always try to put that on minion waves when it's near other people. And then again, this Toby thinks he can just back up, but Kleese is just as good from far range as Toby is. I just keep putting damage on him. The one great thing about Kleese is that even if Toby gets his shield up, most characters, Toby will do enough damage that they'll get crushed before, like, you can take Toby's shield down, but you're going to take a huge amount of damage yourself. Well, if you're playing Kleese, your shields block you from taking a huge amount of damage, so you don't really have to worry about it. And then right there, again, just always when people push, stay in your shields. I did probably half that damage to that Kelvin. Most of it was from my energy rifts, because he decided to attack me instead of the energy rifts, and that's the biggest mistake you can make when attacking Kelvin. Always got to get those energy rifts, and the reason he did that was because I was so low health, but he can't do enough health or damage to me to make up for all the damage or all the healing I'm getting to my shields from my energy rifts. So Kleese is a real problem for one person. You really need to think it through if you're going to solo attack him when he's got all his rifts set up. It's generally speaking a losing battle. And then right here, I always use that. One thing I do with Kleese is I always use the cooldown time on his rifts and the cooldown time on how many times they heal you and do damage, I guess. The reason that I like to do that is because, one, Kleese isn't very mobile, so if you don't put the cooldown time on his rifts, you're going to be kind of stuck in one area. So by allowing him to place more rifts, that allows you to slowly move up the field, or the battlefield, while still staying in the range of your energy rifts. And then I like to slow down or decrease the time between their pulses, and the main reason for that is, one, you get way more healing and way more damage, but two, people just don't really think of how much damage and healing you can get. As you can see, when my health went down to 0, it came back in almost no time at all. It's absolutely ridiculous how quick it comes back once you get the decreased time on the pulse. But now right here, in case you didn't see it before, watch how many times I blocked this Toby shots. That's 4 in a row right there. If those would have hit me, that's 1,000 damage. So I just blocked 1,000 damage while putting in probably a couple hundred to him. So he obviously doesn't know about this. I mean, if you're Toby and you're shooting far range from a Kleese, and the Kleese knows what he's doing, you're not going to do any damage, so you really need to pay attention to that. You really need to make sure to take out his rifts first, and then maybe try and get close and stun him. One thing that people don't do with the Toby is they don't get in close, but because Toby has that stun, Toby's actually very good from close range. And then the other thing that people don't remember is how much damage you're going to take from those rifts. I put that rift out near that Ernest when he was doing his ultimate just to make sure he would get extra damage, and I probably did 200 to 400 damage to him just through those rifts. And just always remember, when you're playing Kleese, you're a healer, you're a DPS, you're a tank, and you block projectiles, so you're Mr. Everything.